Today Bandai revealed lists of 2 starter decks out of 6 that are going to be released together with OP11 set. ST-26 starter deck with purple-black Luffy leader and ST-27 with black Marshall D. Teach. Each of them have 5 new cards inside, so let's take a look together what awaits us. First of all, if you want to check the cards yourself, just go to the official One Piece card game website and then scroll down and you can see today they released the post about the decks, or you can directly go to the card list on the top right corner and then from the drop down menu you can directly see ST-26 and ST-27. We will start with the former and you can directly see that some of the cards are reprints. Like I said, only 5 new cards, so we will hide the reprints and only focus on the new cards. So starting with the leader is the same from OP09, purple-black leader Luffy. The only difference is that the artwork is new, really unique, iconic Gear 5 form, here in a form of the whole silhouette. Previously it was only the altered with the face. I like the face version better, but overall manga faces as the leaders have the best vibe for me. But effect is the same, so we don't need to spend time on that. Let's move directly to the new card number 1, and this is Soba Mask, also known as Sanji, and his effect is nicely connected with the flavor from anime and manga. So for 7 cost we have 9000 power, but the effect says that if we have a Sangoro or Sanji character with 7000 base power or more, give this card in your hand, -5 cost. So the main character here that we reference will be the Rusher Sanji. And then on play, return all of your Sangoro and Sanji characters to the owner's hand. Very interesting and very powerful combination if we want to play a little bit for board. Because on 7th on turn we can play the Rusher Sanji that rests a character, and then if he sticks on board on our 9th on turn we can play Soba Mask for 2 cost because -5 cost reduction. On play effect, bounce back the Rusher Sanji into hand and replay him for 7 Dawn to again rest some of the characters and use the rush effect to clean the board and regain the control, while developing really powerful 9000 power attacker for the next turn. And what's important to note, on board the card has 7 cost, so really good card against any removal decks, especially if we do such combo. If our Sanji didn't survive the previous turn, it might be worth, for example, to keep the combo for the 9th on turn and then develop 2 7 cost characters at once. Really troublesome to be removed from the board. Also there is one small interesting interaction, that returning of the characters named Sangoro and Sanji is an on-play. So if we play against Blackbeard and they are not careful with the effect of the leader and they block our on-plays, it might be the case that we play 9000 power character just for 2 cost, on-play gets negated, so our previous Sangoro or Sanji stay on the board. Really interesting card, and we need to pay attention to it because it can be played in many other purple decks, not only purple black Luffy, but I think the main deck that will benefit from this card is purple Luffy leader. I'm excited to try it out. One of my favorite, so to say, noob decks. Really easy, play on curve, and here we have some really powerful new tool to try out. Next we have Tone Chopper, very interesting card, 1k counter, 3 cost 4000 power, is a blocker, a jump blocker let's say, because of the low power stat line, and on play we can return -2 Dawn to our Dawn deck to rest up to one of your opponent's Dawn cards or characters with a cost of 1 or less. Quite interesting effect. Blocker keyword is always good, but the on-play effect works really well against other leaders that are using counter events, especially recently hated Gum Gum Giant, because you can simply rest the Dawn and there is no more possibility for your opponent to play the Gum Gum Giant on your attacks, but it's also viable to rest some 1 cost or less characters, so maybe some champ blockers, or maybe if we pair it with the cost reduction, we can rest also higher costs. So very smart design of the card. Love the artwork from the Onigashima, right? And Tone Chopper is such an amazing character, and with his little katana here, very cute. Our doctor gets really powerful card to try out, and it's only the common slot. Next we have Nico Robin. This is our super rare card, and Nico Robin is a very powerful card for the purple black deck that is Luffy, because it gives us the ramp consistency. And why? So 1 by 1 our counter is plus 2000 power, so 2k counters if they are on team, if they support our strategy, always good. 3 cost 4000 power, nothing spectacular here, but on play effect, Dawn -2, add up to 1 Dawn card from your Dawn deck and set it as active. So if we play Nico Robin, we use the effect, then trigger the effect of our leader, and then ramp additional Dawn. So in effect, we are ramping 1 active Dawn and another one from the leader also active and 1 rested. So really great for the consistency of the deck for this turn 2 ramp. I'm not sure if we can play Robin in any other deck, because this seems like custom made for this interaction with the leader's effect. Just as a reminder, when 2 or more Dawn cards on your field are returned to your Dawn deck, add up to 1 Dawn card from your Dawn deck and set it as active. So like I said, we return 2, but we get back 1 active, and add up to 1 additional Dawn card and rest it. So there is no cost in a sense. And then 1 ramp from Robin. So in my opinion, 4 copies for the deck, consistency really important in any card game, so keep an eye on this card. Next we have common General Frankie. Vanilla stat line without any counter power. It's 8 cost 10,000 power character with on play also returning 2 Dawn, so custom made for this leader, and give up to 2 of your opponent's characters -2000 power during this turn. I think this is one of those cards that is printed just to put something in the common slot in the starter deck that feels playable, but once you get into competitive environment, not so much. So in my opinion, this is the weakest card from the starter deck, and might be playable only on the starter deck events. Afterwards, in your normal build, I can see General Frankie being included, especially with a steep 8 cost and no counter power. I think there are much more exciting choices from already available card pool. And then the last card, we have our captain himself. Beautiful art also from Onigashima with his cape. And it's obviously Monkey D. Luffy, another super rare character. No counter, 6 cost, 7000 power, so quite normal stat line, and effect that is on play and also when attacking, we can return 2 Dawn. So again, custom made for our leader, purple black Luffy, to synergize with the effect. If your leader is multicolored, so again, another sign that it's custom made to make this leader stronger, and your opponent has 5 or more Dawn cards on their field, so most likely will have, unless we are playing against some deck that is manipulating Dawn downwards, your Straw Hat Crew type leader's base power becomes 7000 until the end of your opponent's next end phase. So really strong effect, because in a sense we are not losing Dawn. We know already that the effect is really strong to synergize with Dawn -2 effects. We are buffing our leader, and what is important to note, the thing that this leader struggles with is for life. So multicolor leaders normally are for life, and it's always a risk to play them because you can get rushed and not have enough resources or time to stabilize. But if we introduce the cards like this Monkey D. Luffy, then we mitigate this problem. Because think about it, as early as 6th turn, and we already know that we are ramping, you can play the Luffy, activate the effect, have 7000 power stat line on board to attack on the next turn, and on top of that, your leader becomes 7000 power. And what is important, it's until the opponent's next end phase, so not only during your turn, also during turn of your opponent. So it's free 2k counter, in a sense, on every attack. So very strong against any aggro strategy, because we know that small characters, I don't know, let's say Zoro or any other swarm tactics, have problem to reach constant 7000 power attacks. And here on each particular attack, so maximum 6 times, you have this 2000 free counter. So in a sense, the more characters your opponent has, the strongest display is. Because if we multiple 6, multiple 2, it's like saving 12,000 counter in a sense. So for sure, the strongest card, I'm not sure how he can pair with other leaders with purple, and also it's really limited with only Straw Hat Crew. So we need to wait and see, but maybe in the future some new releases might be interesting. But here I think for sure custom made card, the best card in a deck for the purple black Luffy. So in conclusion, for purple black Monkey D. Luffy, really interesting cards, especially worth noting for the deck itself, Monkey D. Luffy and Nico Robin. For any other deck, I think in purple, very interesting Soba Mask, especially for purple Luffy, and also Tony Chopper if we want to play around cards like Gum Giant. General Frankie, I think the worst card in a deck, it's just the placeholder for the common slot. And then moving on to Black Marshal D. Teach, also known as Blackbeard. Interesting new art, but again, I'm just crazy for manga heads, so I like the original art better, but I can understand the people that like this one as well, because it's nice, dynamic, but the effect is again the same, so nothing to discuss here. We can move on to the first card in the common slot. We have Avalo Pizarro, counter 1000, one cost 1000 power, so nothing crazy here, but we have some interesting effect. Activate main, once per turn you may rest one of your full elite cards. If your leader has the Blackbeard Pirates type, this character gains plus 4000 power during this turn. So it's interesting, like they are trying to make maybe going first curve stronger for Blackbeard, especially that we have usage of the stage here, and then we have directly the character that can fight with 5000 power after the buff. So something probably to stop the aggro. It's interesting to me that we are getting so many anti-aggro tools, because aggro is not even that much popular. So soon maybe each deck will be aggro in a sense in the early turns. And on top of that, on KO, draw one card. So we know how important in Blackbeard the cards in hand are for the leader's effect, because every time we want to negate on place, we need to trash a card from our hand. And so Pizarro is really strong card in the early game, and your opponent after the attack needs to take some stuff into consideration, that okay, he can kill this character, but on the other hand he will be giving the free card to Blackbeard player. I'm interested how the card will be played in the list, if there will be enough free slots to include him. For me, really interesting card, for sure to try it out. Then the next slot is again common slot, Katarina Devon, and again we have the same pattern. We can directly see on KO draw one card. So And this is really strong for Blackbeard, because any KO on the characters, if they have some useful effect and they draw you a card, is crazy. And here we have 2000 counter, so it's for sure safe inclusion. We know that we want as many counters as possible. And then we have one cost 1000 power. And again, activate main. You may trash this character. If your leader has the Blackbeard Pirates type, give up to one of your opponent's characters -1 cost during this turn. So simple reducer, that is also a 2k counter. And something to note here, please remember that trash word is not the same as on KO. Trashing a card is putting it straight into trash, and KO must be either by effect or by fighting. So something important. But on the other hand, if needed, Blackbeard can also KO his own characters. So might be some interesting line to consider if you desperately need to draw a card. Nonetheless, if you need, you can play Katarina down and then use the effect for some necessary -1 cost reduction. And then moving on into Kuzan, and Bandai with black Kuzan cards, they never miss. Not only beautiful artwork, but also very strong effects. So Kuzan, the first super rare that we see from the deck, 1k counter, which is already great. 6 cost 6000 power might not seem so great, but we are not playing Kuzan cards for their power alone. The effect is keyword blocker, so already pretty strong. We save 1k counter on one block. For example, we can counter 7k swing and then just counter for 2k instead of wasting two cards, 2k and 1k. So already a good blocker. And on KO, play up to one Blackbeard Pirates type character card with a cost of 5 or less from your trash rested. And basically that's it. So it's very, very interesting that on KO, Kuzan can bring another Kuzan that later can attack and replace himself with other characters. So we will have for sure some interesting combos here, and in my opinion this card will be a must-have in Blackbeard deck. So it's interesting to see that we will have this collaboration. If you are up to date with manga and anime, then Kuzan Blackbeard collaboration is really, really suspicious. So it's nice to see the spice in the Blackbeard deck. And here beautiful tags, Blackbeard Pirates, so searchable, and also former Navy. So really the cards tell the story of the One Piece. And then the next card, it's really, really cool design again, even though it's a common slot, Sanjuan Wolf, if I read it correctly. He's a giant and Blackbeard Pirate, counter 1000, and then vanilla statline, so something interesting already. And then we have the effect, if your leader has the Blackbeard Pirates type, this character gains blocker and +1 cost for every 4 cards in your trash. So similar to Jesus Burgess, here we have instead cost increased instead of the stat line. And it's great because, like increasing the cost, we are preventing easy KO of our blocker. And then it's something suspicious here that we have an on-play, and we know that our leader, that is Blackbeard, says directly that our on-play effects are negated. So for us, this card is free, but in case some other deck would like to play him, and maybe this is some foreshadowing for some giant deck, then they need to pay the on-play. So my first impression is maybe giant deck in the future, but then the question is, how do we get the leader with Blackbeard Pirates? So something fishy here. We need to pay attention for the future releases, but for the Blackbeard deck itself, really strong card, low cost, so you can play the blocker early, maybe against some aggro strategies, and 6000 power for 4 cost and blocker is always good, and on top of that we have +1 cost. So for sure this is not a common card, but we know in One Piece card game the rarity doesn't always match the true power of a card in the correct deck. And then the last card, another super rare, the second of super rares in a deck, the Emperor himself, Marshal D. Teach, Blackbeard, 7 cost, 8000 power, no counter, and in a sense it's a Jack but a little bit different. So activate main, you may raise this character KO up to one character with a cost of 3 or less, and on KO add up to one black card from your trash to your hand. And this is huge, because on KO we can add anything. There is no cost restriction and also there is no type restriction. So I can see some crazy people even playing this in Lucci or other black decks just for the on KO effect itself, and the activate main effect is the same as Jack. We just KO one character with a cost 3 or less, but the downside is that Jack draws us a card and filters the card that we don't need. Here the plus side is on KO effect, but the question is our opponent really going to clear the Marshal D. Teach if he will give us the one card? Something to consider. I'm not sure. Maybe if you play against not so experienced player, maybe you can catch them off guard, but normally I think this is not the target to be attacked into anyway, so I would take Jack to filter my hand. On the other hand, here we have the tag of Blackbeard Pirates, so might be relevant for the searching. So those are all the cards from the new Blackbeard deck that is going to be released. All the other ones are the reprints. If you want to check them, go to the website and you see a lot of key cards already here. I mean, deck was released not so long ago, so it's clear that there is not much to be reprinted. If I would choose the most important cards, for sure Kuzan card, the blocker, very interesting, and I'm really curious about Avalo, how the players gonna adapt with this card. Are we going to see some early aggression from the Blackbeard players to maybe meet the aggro instead of playing just Shuryu on 4 done? But we need to wait and see. Katarina and Marshal D. Teach are also interesting cards, but I'm not sure how relevant are they going to be. Like I said, Teach, Jack might be a better option. Katarina, Devon is obviously 2k counter, so we will see some play for sure and strong on KO effect, but the activate main effect doesn't really complement that, so need to wait and see how it goes. To sum up, I think it's worth to pick 2 copies of those decks regardless. As long as you are the One Piece player, there is no downside, and prices of the single cards will always be really high. So if you were on a fence, if you still have some shops in your area or in the internet that are accepting pre-orders, I would pre-order as soon as possible, but 2 copies always to have the playsets of the SR cards. But now it's your turn. Please let me know in the comments what do you think about those 2 starter decks. Maybe you already have some cool ideas how to cook powerful decks, or maybe what other decks are being buffed by printing such a powerful new cards. I hope this little talk was helpful to you. Maybe you missed those reveals during your day because of school, work, private life, whatever. So I'm happy always to help and discuss. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video. Bye bye.